Hello, friends, and welcome back to Stories About Entitled People. I don't think anyone would want to tolerate the antics of a horrible customer. Our OP put such a customer in his place. But before we begin, don't forget to subscribe to our channel if you're new here and turn on notifications so you don't miss a new video every single day. Here we go. Customer wants to close his account because I called him out for being an a-hole. So I worked in a small credit union. There was a regular customer that was always weird towards a coworker. He'd never go to her booth, but he'd always make weird and rude comments to her. "Are you really working over there? Every time I come in here, you're just standing there. I can't believe they pay you just to sit there." Or he'd ask me, "Does she actually do anything here?" I asked my colleague about it, and she said he'd always said these things. She's never served him, doesn't know his name, never seen him outside of work. She had no idea why he was like that towards her. So the next time he was in, I confronted him about it. I waited until he said something, and then mid-transaction, before he had his money, I stopped. "Why do you do that? Why do you just say nasty things to my colleague? She's never served you. You don't know her out of work. She's never been mean to you. She doesn't even know your name, and yet you're just rude and condescending to her. Why is that?" Well, he got all, "Get your manager" on me, and I said, "No, because if I do, I'll tell him in front of you about how much of an a-hole you are for no reason. I've been banking here for years, blah, blah, blah. Formal complaint, blah. Your service is rude and unprofessional, blah, blah. I'm closing my account." Fine. I printed out his closure of account forms, gave him his money, and told him he could complete the form at the counter and hand it straight back. He took the form, the money, and left. He came back as scheduled the next week, completely silent and meek except for a "thank you." He never closed his account. He never made a formal complaint. And our second story. Customer is always right. Hi, everyone. This is something I just remembered that happened maybe 3 or 4 years ago. I was working in a local supermarket chain as a cashier. I worked there for maybe 6 months, and I can safely say it made me hate anything retail-related forever. The customers were demanding and unapologetic about anything and everything. On this day, I was the cashier for one of the busiest checkout lines in the store. An entitled customer approached me. We'll call him EC for entitled customer. While I was helping a customer, we'll call them C for customer. They had just bought $600 to $700 worth of groceries and paid me in small bills. EC was next in line. However, he thought I was obviously busy counting C's bills. EC insisted that I had to give him change for his $50 bill right then and there. He couldn't wait. It had to be done immediately. I told him I'd do it in a second and that I was counting change for C. EC found that to be rude and called me out on it. Unfortunately for EC, I was tired of this job and had not had a good day so far. I flipped out on EC, saying that he was the one being rude and oblivious. After all, he could clearly tell I was busy. EC was taken aback by my words. Unfortunately for me, the owner of the store was passing by and overheard the conversation. Let's call him DMO for D-Munch Owner. DMO talked to me and told me to calm down, berated me for a few minutes about customer service and how I had to react and that the customer was always right. Keep in mind, DMO is paying me $7.25 an hour. I'm not going to sit there and take everything for $7.25 an hour. Since he was so insistent on the customer always being right and to take care of them, I decided to take his words to heart. Whenever a price wouldn't scan, whenever the customer wanted something for free, whenever something wasn't scanning fast enough, the customer would get it for free. From that day forward, the customers would always be taken care of, no matter how much stuff I gave away. But I wasn't paid enough to think, and DMO wanted the customers to always be taken care of. So that's what I did. And our last story. My stepmom is too happy to look handicapped, so an entitled lady tries to ruin her life. My stepmom is one of the nicest people you could ever meet. She's also one of the strongest. Before she became my stepmom, she was previously a single mom of 2 kids and survived and beat breast cancer. A few years after she and my dad had been together, she had her foot crushed by a forklift while she was at work. She's now permanently handicapped and can no longer work paycheck jobs. She was really scared that my dad was going to leave her because when she was diagnosed with breast cancer, her boyfriend had left her. My dad isn't that type of guy, and they both decided that they were the ones for each other. My stepmom just had surgery yesterday for her back and will have another one in 2 weeks. This is because when they originally operated on her foot, they effed up the first surgery and ended up damaging her back as well. Despite all this, my stepmom is the happiest and most loving person. I could go on for days about how amazing this woman is. She's loved in the community she lives in, and almost everyone knows her name. I'm about as close to her as I am my real mother. Now cue entitled lady, who I'll refer to as Jerk. My stepmom had just gone to the gym. While she can't do traditional workouts, she finds that swimming is nice and a good way to lose weight while not hurting herself. She had been trying to lose weight, and she'd lost a lot in that week, and she decided she was going to cheat a little and get a milkshake from a local dive. My stepmom parks in the handicapped parking spot, as she can legally do, and has her order taken from her car. So far today, it's been a really good day, so she was even more upbeat and cheerful than usual. Sadly, Jerk wanted to ruin that. My stepmom noticed a lady standing behind some bushes, almost like she was trying to hide from my stepmom. She has her window down and she's expecting her milkshake to be ready soon, and here's something really chilling. It went something like this. Jerk: yes, I would like to report a regular person parked in the handicapped parking spot. The license plate is XXXXXX. My stepmom shocked. She takes a picture of the woman, very important later, then goes outside to confront her. The lady sees her approaching her, my stepmom using her cane to help her walk, and bolts it. Like, seriously, you just ran away from a lady with a cane? Well, my stepmom was like, whatever. She was registered as disabled, and the DMV shouldn't have any trouble with false accusation. Sadly, she was wrong. As she got home, after enjoying her milkshake, she was called by multiple different agencies. I don't know all the details about this, but I do know that my stepmom was at risk for losing her car, disability checks, which she really needs since she can't work, and that they're going to open an investigation on her possible disability fraud. So a normal person would be infuriated by this and would witch hunt the lady. My stepmom wasn't angry at all, as she just doesn't have it in her. She instead starts to get her evidence that she's disabled by calling her doctors and insurance to acquire physical proof. She was playing the defensive. I know I'm not great at getting to the point, but trust me when I say it's worth it. When my dad gets home from his job, he works in a prison, and sees my stepmom in tears with stacks of papers and her medical history on it, he becomes concerned. My dad is very rational and often hard to upset man. After hearing this story, however, he loses it. He was probably angry for about 5 minutes until he started asking my stepmom for more details. This is where the revenge starts, even if sort of unintentionally. Neither my dad nor my stepmom knew anything about this lady, but my stepmom did have photos of her from earlier. My dad takes these photos and writes a huge post on Facebook describing what happened and my stepmom's past and how she didn't deserve to have to go through this as well. Now, I said earlier that my stepmom was very popular in the community. This is because she organized charity events, would babysit for free, made blankets for homeless people and people in need, and was always there for a friend. This popularity is what made this a revenge story. People banded together and told them who this lady was. Some even posted her address, which my dad deleted from the post because that's just wrong, and was calling her out. Both of my parents thought this was it, and they'd gotten even in a way that took the moral high ground. But oh, this was just the beginning. 2 days later, while my dad is at work in his office, the sheriff from the community comes in to see him. This was really weird since my dad works out of town in the middle of nowhere. It's a prison. There isn't even an Applebee's out near there. It turns out that the sheriff is Jerk's husband. So he's a sheriff. You would expect him to be respectful and appropriate. Ha, no. He's as bad as his wife. He starts yelling at my dad and cursing him out, claiming it's my dad's fault that he and his family were getting death threats. My dad never intended for the family to get death threats, and he even tried to lean people away from this. Apparently, Jerk has had a very difficult 2 days. She lost her job and even got excommunicated from her church. People had also been protesting outside their house and berating the two. Some people even went so far as to throw and break things. They even had their car stolen and vandalized. It had graffiti on it about how they weren't handicapped enough. Then the sheriff grabs my dad's shirt and claims he's going to press charges and have him thrown in prison for something ridiculous like attempted assault. It should also be known that at the time, my dad worked at a female prison. My dad just put on a crap-eating grin and said, "I look forward to seeing your wife in here soon." The sheriff flips his crap and actually punches my dad, My dad said he'd take 1,000 punches from that sheriff if he could just see the look on his face again. Later, my dad presses charges against the sheriff for assault and harassment. Even before the trial happened, the sheriff retired early without any benefits. My dad later decides to drop charges, though, because through balancing work, court, and my stepmom's upcoming surgery, he just can't do it all. He was happy the a-hole paid the price, though, because now neither had a job and both were practically ostracized, all because my stepmom wanted a milkshake. Later, long after these events, they learned that the reason my stepmom had gotten all those calls after the lady reported her was because she used her husband to pull some strings. She went so out of her way to hurt my stepmom. Well, it doesn't really matter now because my dad checked their Facebook page and they'd gotten a divorce. The husband had not posted anything in over 6 months, and the jerk was living paycheck to paycheck while selling some products you'd see on Dr. Oz. The jerk also made a post formally addressing what she did to my stepmom, and she only did it because she looked too happy to be disabled. Yeah, because disabled people can't be happy. In the end, my stepmom and dad lived happily ever after. I mean, at least compared to those two nut jobs. Hey guys, thank you all for watching the video. I'll see you in the next one.